Hello heroes and villains, welcome to Multiverse. So today we are going to take a look at God of Monsters and we are going to take a look at the Elite version of the mission. I played this mission quite a lot in the past few days in order to be
Seriously,
able to
you
get
cannot
the
defeat
Fallen God
Typhon on
style,
your
the
own, no matter
Elite
how
version of the
strong your
Fallen
lust
God
for
style.
revenge. As much as
You
it
may
pains me,
hear
we
Hecklefish in the
must work
background.
together.
I was watching the
Don't let your
Wi-Files as I was
pride
playing
doom us
this
all.
game, so I didn't
Oh,
think the
save the
audio was that
lesser
loud, but I
Diana.
guess it was
I
just
know
loud
my own
enough for
destiny. Now, are
the
you
audio of
going
the
to
video to pick it
continue
up
to try and
sometimes.
save me from
So here you'll
myself?
notice that
Or
we don't
shall we
have a
go take
group
this fight
with
to
low
Typhon?
combat rating characters, but we still have a few characters that are like a combat rating 411, 410. Although we've done this mission sometimes with people that had combat rating as low as 388 or something like that.
And a familiar
Yes,
one.
it is a bit more difficult if a whole bunch of people are like combat rating 388, as opposed to if everyone is 4, 410, 410, 414, 435. Nah, I'm just kidding. If everyone is around 410,
You
414,
don't
it's a bit
say.
easier somehow.
That's why we're here.
Although it depends on the group again. With some groups, this mission was freaking difficult, and with some groups, this mission was pretty easy. There's one time where we went through the mission very easily. I thought by mistake we had played the regular version, but no, it was the elite version. But we did go through it very easily. But then, pretty much with the same group, we replaced 2 or 3 people in the group, and that was enough. Just replacing those 2, 3 guys, that was enough to make the second fight impossible with that group. So sometimes just a few key players missing
I
makes a huge
don't think
difference.
they're gonna just let
And
us
basically you have to
follow.
know what to do. So here there's
Everyone,
3
defend
Cyclopses.
yourselves.
Ideally, one tank should pull 2 of the Cyclopses in one corner, while the group takes care of the third Cyclops. And ideally, if you just stick around in the corner where we are, I'll be a bit more better positioned in just a minute. If you just stick around in the corner here, you can pretty much avoid most of the effects that will appear during the fight, because there's a whole bunch of lava that appears. There's some steam, some fire, a whole bunch of stuff. So ideally, if you stick in the corner here, and if the whole group ideally stick in the corner here, usually it's an easy enough fight. So ideally, one tank grabs the 2 Cyclopses, brings them elsewhere, while the group takes care of the third one. Doesn't always work perfectly. Also, I tried to take there's times where we played this mission flawlessly, very easily. There's times where every fight was a nightmare, and there's even some times where some of the fights were pretty much impossible for the group we had. So I tried to pick a mission where it wasn't too easy, but it wasn't too difficult either. I tried to pick something in between. There was this one time where, for the second fight, things went really wrong. We started the fight, and holy crap, things didn't go well. We started on the wrong foot, literally, really on the wrong foot. And then 2 of our guys decided to rage quit and left. But we kept on going, and we were able to pretty much get back on our feet, and actually finish the fight, even though we were two guys short. If the 2 guys had stuck around, they would have been able to help us finish the fight a bit more easily. Although, who knows? Maybe they were the trouble. Maybe they were the problem. Maybe they were the reason why the fight went out of control. It's quite possible. But once we reach the second fight, it'll make a bit more sense. So ideally, again, you want to be able to fight the Cyclopses one at a time. But sometimes things go out of control. Sometimes the fight goes really well, as everything is under control, and then one thing goes wrong, or one player goes down for whatever reason, without warning, and then the whole house of cards fall apart. It's sad, but that's how it is. But I've seen a lot of you guys pretty much mention that this mission is impossible. I understand. I understand. It depends on the group, and especially if you like in this case, we did form the group I think before we went into the mission. So we did try to get the 2 tanks, although we just have the one right now. But we did try to make sure we had at least one healer. I was obviously the controller. And ideally, when you go into the mission, you try to have 2 tanks. But there are times where we did the mission actually once or twice, at least a couple of times, with only one tank. Usually what happens at that time is that the tank pulls all the enemies on him, and I pull just the one enemy we want to fight using my pull move. Although I don't have it right on this loadout. But yeah, when we had only one tank, I would make sure to have my pull move equipped, and then I would pull the one enemy we needed to fight, while the tank would pull everyone else away to keep us safe. But depending on the group, sometimes the strategy will change. Some people have there's more than one ways to skin a rat, as they says. Or skin a bat, maybe?
Thank you, brave blacksmith.
So here we were able to defeat the
Professor should
three
be proud of not
Cyclopses
only your
easily
skill of
enough
metal,
without
but your
too much
valor
trouble.
in battle.
But again, as you've noticed,
I
everyone's
understand
stuck
that
in the
this
same
mighty
corner.
lightning
We
bolt
were
was
pretty
never
much
meant
safe
for
from
mortal
most of the
hands.
effects from the map.
I will endure
And
the
we were
burden of
able to
carrying
easily
the mighty
fight
bolt.
the
It
Cyclops
is our
just one
only
at a
hope
time.
of
Like
beating
here we lost
Typhon.
one of the guys. I'm not sure if he, I forget if he disconnected. And sometimes it happens. There's a few times where we did the fight well enough, easily enough, and then people would leave for some reason. Don't ask why, I have no idea myself. And there's a few times where we got here. There's one time especially when, holy crap, we came here and it took forever to be able to defeat the enemies. Although there were some of the phoenixes with the like, sort of force field around them, protecting them. So what I ended up doing is that I had to pull them one at a time to separate them from the group, and we were able to get through the whole bunch like that. But also, I couldn't help but notice when I looked at the scorecard that I had like twice, if not three times, the damage of some of the DPSs. So I guess we had a couple of DPSs that were not doing a lot of damages. Sadly, that didn't help, I guess. But ultimately, we were able to get through, but holy crap, was it difficult. Sorry, we got lucky enough. It wasn't too difficult. And again, we're basically one guy short, so we're still doing not too bad. So now we're reaching the second fight.
Paltry mortals, you have come to your doom. I shall revel in the blood and fury of combat as I watch you fail in agony and carnage.
And there you can get an idea of the scoreboard, how people are doing.
Blood, fury, and carnage.
Personally, I don't care so much about that. Usually,
such.
just watching the field of battle, you can pretty much tell what's going on. Like at the time when we were fighting those mobs and it took forever, it was obvious that some of the DPSs were not doing as much DPS as they should have. So, but when you look at the scoreboard, sometimes it confirms what you already knew just looking at the battlefield. I do what I kind of like to call reading the battlefield. Sometimes just seeing what's going on the battlefield, you can tell. Like when you look at the health bar of the group, you can tell if the healer is doing his job or not. When you look at the power bar, you can tell if the controller is doing his job or not. Although in this case here, I'm actually playing pretty much as a buff troll. So whenever I'll use, let's say
You're going down.
my group weapon buff or my power dump, it doesn't actually give power. Like you see the spikes on the shoulders of my characters, that's because I'm using the claw of Akund. I can't pronounce it. One of your artifacts actually pretty much changes your power dump into a buff. So whenever I use it, instead of giving power to the group, I buff the whole group. I ask the group what they want. Ask the group, do you want to guys? Because I have two armories basically. One armory is where I give power, and one armory when I actually buff the group. So in this case, I forget if I ask in this case, but usually when I ask, people will say, go for the buff. Once in a while they'll say use whatever you're more comfortable. They don't seem to care, but I can do both easily enough. Like here you can see the healer is struggling a little bit, so I will try to. One way to give a bit more power is they've made some changes to some of the artifacts, especially the bird blitz. It's not quite the bird of prey coupling device. With the bird of prey coupling device, when you apply debuffs, 3 debuffs on one enemy, and then you attack that enemy, it actually gives power to the group. So I do manage to give power that way, even though my power dump is no longer giving power. Oh, see, right from the start, it didn't go so well, but we'll be able to get back from that.
Far too powerful for you.
So sadly, people weren't prepared, lots of confusion. You can see I'm confused myself. I didn't notice that they were able to pull the Phoenix over here. So ideally, what you want to do is that, again, one of the tanks should pull all the enemies on one side, and then the other tank pulls one of the enemies. I didn't see the evil Minotaur as I was trying to heal myself. So ideally, like you see, everything's went wrong, and I did very poorly in this instance, which is one of the reasons why I chose it. I'm not always perfect. So basically, the tank will pull all the enemies on one side, and the other tank should try to pull the. At first, we started with the Phoenix, so we should pull one of the Phoenix, defeat the Phoenix, burn the Phoenix, while all the other enemies are busy on the other side. There's a few times where, again, we did not have two tanks. Like there's a couple of times where we only had the one tank. So what we would do is that the one tank would pull all the enemies on one side, and I would use my pull move to try to pull the enemies one by one on the other side. So, and usually we start with one of the Phoenixes.
Your time is near. Immortals don't leave.
Hera, protect me.
So once things are under control, ideally it should go well. But sometimes it would things would go really well, things would be fine, and then the tank on the other side would go down, and then Hades broke loose.
I'm far too powerful for you.
So once we defeat the one enemy, then we try to pull one of the other enemies. Sometimes it takes a while though, so it's kind of hard to be. It's kind of easy to be impatient and to start attacking the whole bunch. But ideally, you want to try to pull. In this case, we're trying to pull the other Phoenix away. But sometimes the tank has a hard time trying to pull just the one guy away. Once in a while, we'll pull another ad and we'll just burn through that one. But ideally, what we want is to burn to pull the one ad. Like here in this case, things pretty much went out of control. So doing a bit of damage to everyone, that did seem to be the only thing to do right now. Oh, but here I guess we might be able to pull. Oh, there we go. So the Phoenix is almost separated from the rest. So sadly, sometimes it is challenging to try to get the one mob we need or the one enemy we need.
Look into my eye.
And you saw things went wrong, but we were still able to get back on our feet. So it's easy to lose control of the fight, but you can get control back if you're a bit careful. Although you can see here there's one of the evil Minotaurs that is attacking us. It happens. So I've seen groups again where as soon as things go wrong, people leave. But I've seen groups like this one where even if things go wrong, people stuck around and we were able to pull through with the big W. But obviously, the more you play the mission, the more you get used to it, and the easier it gets, I suppose. But again, it always depends on the group you have. If you have a good group, it's very easy. It's almost as easy as playing the regular version of the mission. If you don't have a good group, although if you don't have a good group, even the regular version of the mission is a nightmare because even with the regular version, you still have to separate the enemies a bit. So if you have if you play the regular version and you have a not so good group, this fight will be impossible anyway. Oh, there's someone at the other end who's stoned. I didn't notice before. Someone is going to get him. Sometimes in the heat of battle, you don't see everything, but ideally you have to grow a third eye in your forehead in order to be able to try to see everything, or you have to use peripheral vision. If you have a tunnel vision and you're too focused on what you're doing, you miss out on situational awareness on what's going on around you. So ideally, you don't want to focus too much on the one thing in front of you. You have to keep a bit of your focus for everything, if everything else going on around you as well. Like you get basically as a controller, you have to keep an eye on the obviously the enemy you're attacking, but you also have to keep an eye on the minimap to see where everyone is positioned. You have to keep an eye on everyone's power bar to see if you have to give them power, and at the same time, you even have to keep an eye on the health bar. Like once in a while, you can pretty much act as a healer using your supply drop to heal someone who needs it. Okay, you can see we kind of lost control a little bit. Everyone is a bit spread apart, but we'll get back on track. So even if you don't have, there's one time where we had what one of the guys said called flawless victory. There's one time we went through the whole thing very easily from start to finish, and everything went smoothly. But even when things don't go smoothly, you can recover. You can get back on track, and power on through it. Oh, now here we have one of the evil Minotaurs isolated in the corner. Let's see if we can focus on that one. So ideally, the whole group should focus on the one enemy. It's pretty much that simple. So while the tank grabs the whole group of enemies in one corner, the whole group should be able to focus on one enemy, burn him down, and you burn through the group that way, slowly but surely. Again, sometimes it's not pretty, and it doesn't matter if it's pretty or not. You don't get extra points if it's pretty. As long as you manage to pull through it, that's what really matters. And depending on the groups, oh, I was stoned. So when you see your friends stoned like that, you have to go help them. So you have to grab them and break them up on the ground. Sadly, I've seen groups where they don't do that, and obviously it was a catastrophe. And of course, sometimes there are groups who don't raise their fallen friends. So here in this case, you can see my loadout. I have basically my power dump, which now is pretty much a buff for everyone in the group. It's no longer gives power. And I have a couple of crowd control, especially I think it's called Anomaly, the second one I have, which is also a supercharge generator. I have my quantum tunneling to be able to teleport and shield myself, and there's the bird blitz, which applies all 3 debuffs at once, which then allows me to give power back. Like when I attack an enemy that has 3 debuffs, it does give power back to the group. So basically with the bird blitz, I'm able to bypass the restriction of the power dump no longer giving power. So yeah, the power dump doesn't give power anymore, but I have other alternatives. And of course also there's the group shield that I can use that also gives power to the group. So ideally, I try to save the group shield. I'm not sure why it was so hard to break out this time. Ideally, there's the group shield that will also give power. So basically there's multiple reasons to use it. Either I can use it to save the group from a wipe. Like sometimes you'll start seeing the health point of the people going down, and then you cast a group shield to give them a breather so that they can have a time to grab a potion, or so that you can buy some time for the healer to be able to heal the group. But so either it can be used to save the group from a wipe, or sometimes if you see that the power bar are pretty low and you can't really bring it back with your other abilities, and you just cast your supercharge, and it pretty much gives power back to the group. Also, basically at this point, I have two supercharge generator, so I'm able to cast my supercharge a bit more than I would have in the past. So I guess it's I should probably make a video about that. They made some changes to a couple of artifacts. So I should probably make a video about that as well.
In
Eh,
the
maybe
name
next
of
time.
Gaia.
But a lot of people are struggling with this mission, and a lot of people seems to think that this mission is impossible. It's not impossible, but you need a good group, and you need a group that knows what they're doing, that knows what to do. Which at the end of the day is simple enough. One tank grabs the whole group on one side, another tank grabs one enemy, or the controller can grab the one enemy. Oh, I saw there was a few people stoned that I didn't notice at the time. Like I have to do the voiceover after playing this mission because
That was a mistake.
there's no way I can do both in this case. Already just playing the one mission sometimes is challenging. If I try to play and talk and explain at the same time, it just doesn't work. Also, I wanted to choose a mission where things did not go perfectly, when things did go wrong a little bit. Just to show that even if the fight doesn't quite go your way, it doesn't go very smoothly, you can get back on your feet. You can get back on track. You can recover from things going wrong. Sadly, in life, sometimes things go wrong. It happens.
You will fall.
So you have to understand that even when things go wrong, you can pretty much recover from that. And there we go. So it wasn't easy, but we were able to pull through it.
I didn't realize the god of monsters was so dramatic.
Come on, let's go.
Usually the last part, I would be tempted to say the last part is the
I'd
easiest.
reconsider that.
But again, I've seen because pretty much every time we would play the
Power of
last
Zeus's
part, it would
lightning
go
bolt
very smoothly.
Is incredible.
And then
I
at some
may not
point,
be
I had
able to
a
withstand
group or
the
two
strain
where the last
much
part
longer.
was a nightmare. So as a rule of thumb, the last part
Strong,
usually is
I admire that.
easier.
But, will
But
alone
again,
shall not
if you have
allow
a
to
not so
endure
good
the
group,
energy of Zeus's
it could happen that the last part is
I
a
can
nightmare.
lend you a touch
It's
of
sad,
my
but it
power,
happens.
which will
So you can
help.
see the
But
scorecard
it
where
shall
we're at
not
right
last
now.
long.
For those of you like that kind of stuff.
I will make you beg for mercy.
Strike me down.
And sadly, I've seen some groups where sometimes just the ads like that would be a struggle. So ideally, you want to have people that are higher than combat rating 400. Oh, did we forget something? Not sure why they're staying behind. There has to be a reason. I'm just gonna tell you what it is. It could be also like I'm not in a voice chat for a few reasons. Usually, I'm listening to something while I'm playing the game, and people don't want to hear. I'm sure a lot of people like the WI files, but if I'm listening to the WI files while I'm playing the game, I'm sure some people don't want to hear that.
I grow tired of your interruptions.
So sadly, we did seem to have started too quickly. We seem to be one man short. It happens. No, he was able to get in. Okay.
You vex me.
So ideally, there's a whole bunch of evil snakes that you have to defeat. And when you defeat the snakes, Wonder Woman will want to throw a lightning bolt. And you have to form a line so that the lightning bolt can reach the evil Typhon. And normally it happens when you defeat all the snakes. There's also mobs.
The lightning bolt.
So there you can see the lightning. So when there's the lightning like that, you have to form a line. And sadly, sometimes people don't really form a line.
You risk the fury of the god.
And usually once you hit the Typhon with the lightning bolt, then there's a whole bunch of mobs that appear,
Your aid to endure
and there's a new batch of snakes that appear. So ideally, you want to get rid of the mobs because otherwise, at some point, the tank might be overwhelmed.
Now it's my turn. You think you are
But I've
worthy
seen some
to
groups
fight
where
with
we
me?
would just focus on the snakes. The tank would take care of the mobs, and we would go through the mission fairly quickly. So I guess it depends on the tank. If the tank is confident enough, and if he's able to handle a whole bunch of ads, then you can just focus on the snakes. But ideally, once in a while, you may want. But in most group, I suppose you may want to burn the ads before you finish off all the snakes. You may want not to overwhelm the tank with too many ads.
Work together to chain Zeus's lightning bolts from me
So
to
again, here we have to
Titan's.
form the chain.
I shall reciprocate in kind. You think you are worthy to fight Athena? Ha! I must regain my strength before I can unleash the lightning bolt again. You annoy the mother of spells.
So it gets a bit chaotic when the lightning is here. Again, there's some groups where things work very smoothly. There's some groups where we will literally just be spread apart throughout the whole fight. And as soon as we would defeat all the enemies, the lightning would go right through. But there's other groups where you have to struggle to know where to position yourself, and sometimes you have to try to explain people where to position themselves, which is a bit more tricky.
You make me laugh.
I am Wonder Woman.
So sadly, this is a group. This is group content. Oh, there you go. See, we were already pretty much in the right position from the start. Except for the one who's too much on the left, as you see. But we were still able to do it despite that. Like, there's one time where there was 6 of us left, and someone decided to pretty much sabotage the lightning. When we got the lightning, there's one player who decided not to do it, and for some reason he wanted us to wipe. And we tried to explain that, yeah, there's only 6 of us, but we can do it. But nah, yeah, he absolutely wanted to wipe and restart over. So anyway. So even if you're just 6, if you're spread enough, you should be able to bring the lightning to Typhon. But obviously, again, this is a group. This is group content, and if people in the group wants to do things a different way, either you do what they want, or you convince them to do what you want, or you just get out of there. So there you can see we defeated the evil Typhon. Again, it wasn't pretty, but it wasn't too difficult either. There's times where it was much more chaotic and much more of a mess. There's times where either the healer could not keep us alive, where the tank could not keep the mobs away from us.
I am glad Zeus was still too weak to join
In this case, it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad either.
The crown destroyed. Olympus will fall.
So there you go,
to
guys. So
strength
these are the
in
secrets to
fight.
be able to defeat
That may be
the
so.
God of Monster Raid
Or the gods
and
could learn
the
to put
elite
aside
version
their
of the God
petty
of Monster
squabbles and
Raid.
deceptions.
So again, for the first fight, the
Don't
3
hold your breath,
Cyclopses,
Diana.
you have to try to
Don't
get
have to
the
be
2 of the Cyclopses away from the group.
to
Well,
know
the group burns down the
Olympians
3rd
will
one,
never
and then
say
you pull the
no.
Cyclopses one at a
You're
time to the
still
group,
here,
so that the
Sissy?
group can burn them one at a time. And the group has to position itself in a position where they will not be affected by a whole bunch of the effects that will the area effects that will happen. For the second fight, again, pretty much same principle. You grab pretty much all the bosses on one side, and then you pull the bosses on the other side one at a time. So you start with one of the phoenixes, then the second phoenix, and depending on the groups, some people want to pull the Minotaur first. Some people want to pull the Gorgon first because the Gorgon stones players. Depending on the group, the order will change, but the theory is the same. You have to pull all the bosses on one side, and then you have to pull them one at a time on the other side. So if you still need to raise your Champion of Olympus renown, now will be the time to do it. Because right now, a lot of people are playing the Gods of Monster Elite Raid. Which is, I've seen people who mention that Gods of Monster Elite Raid is always available. What does it matter if it's available in Save the Universe? Because with the Elite version of the raids, there's almost no one who plays those anymore. So yes, the Gods of Monster Elite Raid is always available, but the people who actually know how to play the raid, they don't want to play it anymore. They have either all the feats they need, or they have all the renown they need, so they don't really care about playing the Elite Raids anymore. So this here is a great opportunity for people who still need to increase the renown for Champions Olympus to be able to play the Elite version of the raid. So if you need to play the God of Monster Elite Raid, the time to play it is now because a lot of people are playing that mission right now. If you think that completing the Elite version of that raid is impossible, now you know the secret on how to complete it. But now comes the challenging part, finding a group that knows how to do it. And then of course, actually doing it.